Welcome to a new episode of the program, Genius in a Day, my dear 11/11ths. At 11 o'clock on 11/11ths in the year 1918, Germany signed an armistice agreement with the Allies. This agreement marked the collapse of World War I. Germany here realized its defeat. "I have been defeated," it acknowledged, and awaited a fair peace treaty. President Wilson of the United States reassured them with a vision of peace, victory without revenge. "We have won, but we will not celebrate on your behalf." This was also the view of British Prime Minister Lloyd George, who pressured for Germany's reconstruction, as it was an important trading partner for Britain. Germany had hoped that everything would go smoothly, but then came France, which announced that the peace treaty would be signed in the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. What's the issue, you may ask? Why are people upset? Well, the Hall of Mirrors is the place where, half a century earlier, the birth of a unified Germany, the Second Reich, was proclaimed in 1871. The Germans believed that France had chosen this very hall to humiliate them by declaring the death of their unified state in the same place where it was born. Not only that, but Germany was about to sign a peace treaty that would weaken its economy, which the famous British economist John Maynard Keynes would later describe as the biggest political mistake Europe had made. This treaty would give birth to Adolf Hitler, a figure who would be summoned by the Germans to restore their dignity, leading to the nightmare known as the Third Reich. But what does Reich mean? The term Reich in German means empire or kingdom. There were three major attempts to unite German-speaking territories into one entity. The first, Reich, was the Holy Roman Empire, which united the Germanic tribes after the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century. Charlemagne succeeded in uniting these tribes in 800, and the Holy Roman Empire was formed. This empire lasted until 1806 when Napoleon defeated the Holy Roman Emperor Francis II, ending the empire. Napoleon's defeat in the Battle of Leipzig in 1813 united the German states, and they decided that they did not want an emperor like Napoleon again. Instead, they formed the German Confederation, which would eventually lead to the creation of a unified Germany in 1871, under the leadership of Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck, born in 1815, was a man dedicated to the idea of a unified Germany. He believed in the strength of Prussia and was determined to make it the leading power in the new German Empire. His political career was shaped by the turbulent events of the time, including revolutions in 1848, which were suppressed but led to a growing sense of national unity. Bismarck's main goal was to unite the various German states under Prussian leadership, but his journey was full of challenges and battles, both diplomatic and military. In 1862, Bismarck became the Prime Minister of Prussia and began his efforts to strengthen the Prussian military and lead Germany toward unification. Through a series of wars, including the Danish War, the Austro-Prussian War, and the Franco-Prussian War, Bismarck succeeded in uniting Germany under Prussia's rule, leading to the proclamation of the German Empire in 1871. Bismarck's rise to power and influence in Prussia came after the failure of the 1848 revolutions, which were fueled by economic crises and widespread social unrest. The revolutions, driven by hunger and poverty, had caused the people to demand changes. However, in 1848, as industrialization progressed, many workers left the fields and worked in factories, which worsened the agricultural crisis. This led to an explosion of frustration and the formation of revolutionary movements. Bismarck, who initially resisted the idea of German unification, saw it as a threat to the power of the aristocracy and Prussia itself. But after the failure of the revolutions and the rise of new political forces, he changed his stance. He realized that a united Germany under Prussian leadership was inevitable, and he would use any means necessary to achieve this. In 1851, after the revolution was suppressed, Bismarck became a key player in Prussian politics. He was appointed as the ambassador to France and later as the Prime Minister of Prussia in 1862. His political maneuvering during this period was crucial in shaping the future of Germany. In 1862, Bismarck began his campaign to build a strong, unified Germany. He understood that wars would be the means to achieve this goal. His first significant conflict was the Danish War of 1864, which saw Prussia and Austria defeat Denmark. After this, Bismarck skillfully manipulated the situation to provoke a war with Austria in 1866. This war, known as the Austro-Prussian War, resulted in the victory of Prussia and the dissolution of the German Confederation, further paving the way for a unified Germany under Prussia's leadership. The final step toward unification came in 1870 with the Franco-Prussian War. Bismarck used diplomatic cunning to provoke France into declaring war on Prussia. The war united the German states against a common enemy, and the defeat of France in 1871 led to the proclamation of the German Empire at the Palace of Versailles. This marked the culmination of Bismarck's efforts and the realization of a unified Germany under the leadership of the Prussian monarchy. Bismarck's political genius lay in his ability to manipulate both domestic and international events to achieve his goals. He used war as a tool for unification, but also employed diplomacy to prevent conflicts with other European powers. His policies, such as the Kulturkampf, a campaign against the Catholic Church, and his system of alliances, helped secure Germany's position as a dominant power in Europe for decades. However, Bismarck's legacy is a complex one. While he succeeded in unifying Germany, his methods and the political structure he created would contribute to the tensions and conflicts that followed, eventually leading to the outbreak of World War I. His unification of Germany also left behind a nation that was both powerful and potentially unstable, with growing nationalist and militaristic tendencies. The weak parliament here reassured itself that a person like Bismarck would never last in power for even 2 months. But what no one knew was that Bismarck returned with 11 years of diplomatic experience and a master plan to unite all of Germany under Prussia's rule. Bismarck, now transformed into a composed and strategic statesman, found a loophole in the constitution. He argued that if the king's authority clashed with the parliament, the government could proceed with its plans until the issue was resolved. He calmly told the parliament, "I'm the government. Do you have a problem? I'll find a diplomatic solution to confuse all my opponents." In his first speech as Prime Minister, Bismarck declared, "The army must be strong because it determines Prussia's fate, not the Vienna Conference that created divided states nor the Revolution of 1848 that upheld majority consensus. The fate of Germany will be decided by 2 things, iron and blood." This fiery speech shocked everyone. A rural parliamentarian who once opposed unification was now advocating for it through blood and war. A unity that wouldn't come from parliaments or revolutions. It would be imposed by the sword. Queen Augusta immediately urged the king to dismiss Bismarck, calling him mad. But Bismarck intercepted the king on a train to Berlin, convincing him of his grand project and persuading him to let him remain prime minister. Over the next 2 years, he ignored parliament and succeeded in reforming the Prussian army. Bismarck knew Europe would oppose the emergence of a new empire, as it would disrupt the delicate balance of power established over years. Therefore, German unification had to proceed like a roulette game, every move dependent on the previous one, with the risk that one failed war could end Prussia. The first war Bismarck needed was a limited conflict to showcase the strength of the Prussian army. He chose 2 disputed territories between the German Confederation and Denmark. These regions were insignificant, leading British Prime Minister Palmerston to mock the war as one understandable only by 3 people. "One is dead, the second is insane, and I forgot the third." Despite Europe's confusion, Bismarck managed to ally with Austria. In February 1864, Prussia and Austria fought a trivial war over 2 small regions, with an inevitable victory. Each country took a region as agreed, but Bismarck's real goal was to create tension with Austria, his eventual target for German unification. In 1866, Bismarck declared war on Austria, exploiting its strained relations with Russia and Italy. He also framed the conflict as a German civil war, ensuring other nations stayed neutral. The Austro-Prussian War lasted just 7 weeks, with Prussia's superior rifles causing 7 times more casualties for Austria. However, Bismarck stopped the king from humiliating Austria in victory, fearing it would create an eternal enemy. Instead, he demanded Austria leave the German Confederation. Prussia then formed the North German Confederation, with Bismarck as its hero. To unite the remaining southern states, Bismarck engineered a war with France, knowing only an external threat could rally all Germans. Using his diplomatic skills, he provoked France into declaring war in 1870. This Franco-Prussian War ended with a decisive German victory, the capture of Napoleon III, and the proclamation of the German Empire in 1871 at Versailles. Bismarck had achieved his dream but turned France into a lifelong enemy. To maintain peace, he formed alliances and hosted the Congress of Berlin to prevent major conflicts. Domestically, he introduced social welfare to counter growing socialist movements. Yet his dismissal by Kaiser Wilhelm II in 1890 marked the beginning of Germany's isolation, leading to World War I, a conflict Bismarck had always feared. Historians argue that while Bismarck united Germany, he built it hastily through iron and blood. Its foundations lacked democracy and freedom, sowing seeds for future turmoil, including the rise of Hitler and World War II. This unification was not built on strong and stable foundations but rather on military power and external conflicts. This type of unification made Germany strong militarily but weak politically and socially. This is the main criticism historians have of Bismarck. Despite his brilliance in achieving German unification, his approach relied heavily on political oppression and military force instead of involving the people in the political process. This method created a repressive political system, leaving Germany vulnerable to rapid changes and major crises. After Bismarck, the German political system could not withstand the challenges of the 20th century. Under Kaiser Wilhelm II, who was impulsive and hasty in his decisions, Germany made a series of political mistakes that led to its international isolation and the outbreak of World War I, which ended in its devastating defeat. In conclusion, while Bismarck succeeded in creating a unified Germany, it was based on short-term strategies. This led to Germany paying a heavy price after his departure, especially through the First and Second World Wars. After World War I, Germany faced severe economic, political, and social crises due to the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles. These conditions created an environment of frustration and instability, leading to the rise of extremist ideologies like Nazism under Adolf Hitler. Hitler exploited the weaknesses of the political system Bismarck had established and used the sense of injustice and national humiliation to his advantage. This led to the outbreak of World War II, which ended in even greater destruction and division for Germany. In the long term, Germany only achieved true unification after World War II, but this time through peaceful means, democracy, and economic development. The unification of East and West Germany in 1990, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, marked a new era in Germany's history, one based on cooperation, equality, and respect for human rights. In conclusion, while Bismarck's efforts to unify Germany were impressive, they were based on temporary solutions and forceful tactics. True and lasting unity came later, when Germany embraced democratic principles and peaceful collaboration. This serves as a reminder that sustainable success depends on justice, participation, and long-term vision. This shows that building unity through force and manipulation might achieve short-term goals but often leads to future conflicts and instability. On the other hand, unity built on shared values, mutual respect, and cooperation ensures a stronger, more stable foundation for nations and societies to thrive. Germany's history highlights the importance of learning from past mistakes and working towards inclusive solutions that benefit all citizens. It also serves as a lesson for the world. True progress and peace come not from domination or exclusion but from understanding, equality, and collaboration among all people.